this music. Hey guys, so in 2008 we had this link building or SEO world where it was really 90% link building. It really didn't matter whether or not it connected back to your content or not. You just had to build links that had authority and obviously link back to your website. Maybe do 10% on-page SEO. Don't completely fall over yourself and you'll be okay. The reality is with Penguin and all these iterative updates that have happened and continue to happen over the last few years, this equation doesn't make as much sense anymore. It's something closer to this. This is not an exact opinion of what I think the algorithm is or anything like that. But the reality is there's a lot of different quivers now that we have to account for on top of link building. Content marketing is increasingly important, but I think the myth that there is no link building is exactly that, a myth. Link building is still a piece of this equation. It's still there. It's still part of that circle. And it's something we need to engage in if we're really going to capitalize on the full breadth of the experience when we build content and we do outreach to people that want it. So if you look at the trend line, obviously content marketing is outpacing link building, but I don't think this means it's going to regress back to zero. What I think it means is it's going to, yes, drop a little bit and probably stay there forever, but I don't think it's ever going to rescind to a zero level. It's going to be that niche thing that's still going to offer tons of value on top of content marketing where you match up a webmaster with content that needs it. So I think today's link building that makes sense, that passes value, that is going to be sustainable is when you match up the content with a webmaster who wants it. So it bridges the gap between when you hit publish on your post and there's just silence and no one links to you, you have to go out and do link building because there's more to it than just making a good piece of content and hitting publish. You have to do outreach. You have to bridge the gap. So sometimes there's errors that occur. The webmaster is asleep when you tweet it out. Maybe they didn't see it. Maybe they're on vacation. So there's opportunity gaps that must be filled explicitly with link building in order to take advantage of it and maximize your return for each piece of content. So I think if we think about the entire experience as kind of a canyon, content strategy is at the front. You do content marketing through the process where you tweet it out, you're optimal. When you do that release, maybe do some outreach. And at the very end, the link builder comes in to close the gap, make sure you completely cross the chasm and capture all of the links that you should have, whether it's a misspelled link, whether it's a webmaster that should have linked to you but perhaps was missing it. All those things must be taken advantage of as a link builder, and I think will still pass value for the long term of SEO and what we imagine as SEO. So in this presentation, I'm hoping to help you bridge that gap, give you a lot of rapid fire, actionable things that you can use today, tomorrow, whenever you feel like using them that will hopefully improve your process, help you build more links, help you be more effective with your content marketing. So I'm going to break this up into 3 acts. So the first act is tools. Second act is visibility. If we get more visibility, we hypothetically get more links. And the third is just get more links. And all of these add up into a more productive process for you, for your business, so you can get more links, visibility, and all those good things that you want. So first is this tool email format. I felt like I had the complete contact finding processed down to a T, but there was one outlier, is when sometimes you have someone's name for a big company, but you can't find email address for the life of you. But I knew if you search for the general format of that business, for example, if it's HubSpot or something like that, and you input it into, if there's a kind of tool that exists like this where you can input that website into the tool, they would then return the general format for that company as a whole, and you could bring over that person's name and likely have their email to therefore contact them. So that's what email format does. If that information is available online, it will scan the internet and hopefully find you the contact information so you can match it up with the name of that person. It's not going to work for every business. Small companies are not going to have these kinds of things, but it can be generally valuable as a method of finding the contact information. 1Password. I manage a lot of email accounts. And if you're like me, you constantly forget the passwords. It's annoying trying to remember them. You waste a lot of time doing it. So I finally realized that this cool tool, 1Password, is actually hugely productive from that standpoint for link builders, for people who do outreach on multiple accounts, because it can easily populate the password field, the username field, for lots of different accounts, making your process quicker and more iterative and valuable. outdated content finder. So there's broken link building, and Bill Sebald, who's a smart SEO, put out this tool, and essentially what it does is instead of finding content that's already dead, it will actually find content that's outdated. So there's sometimes stuff that's frequently linked to, but it's just not relevant anymore, and there's opportunity to upgrade it, add value to it, and then go out to those people and say, hey, this is a newer, better version of that thing you already linked to, maybe you should link to it as well. So his tool is a good way of doing that and finding content opportunities that you can then utilize to build links. BANANATAG, so most people do follow-ups. It's kind of debated how many times you do follow-up for content marketing and outreach. For me, it's generally 2, but with 1 follow-up rather, because 2 seems too aggressive. But with something like BANANATAG, it'll actually track the opens of your email. So if you send an email once and it tells you they didn't open it, and then you send it a second time and it tells you they didn't open it again, you can therefore use that data to follow up a 3rd time without being aggressive and or find a new email. So if you attach this to your process, you can therefore improve it without harassing people, without coming off as an annoying link builder, because you know when they've opened it, when they haven't opened it, and therefore use that information to better inform your process. Link Clump, it's another productivity tool. If you come across blog roles, link lists, things like that, you can use this Chrome extension, which will quickly allow you to hold Shift, drag, and it'll auto-open all of the links on that page in new tabs in Chrome. So it's a pretty cool way to quickly look at links that you hadn't, you otherwise had to do Control-T every single time just to look at, which can be mundane and take a lot of time. So if you're a link builder, you probably have heard of Boomerang. It's a super powerful tool, and I really like it a lot for the purposes of following up with email and also sending emails later. But what I realized with Boomerang is it has its failures as it comes to being a lightweight tool for our purposes. It's also used by BD people, people that have like 10 contacts they need to follow up with. So every time you go to Boomerang, you have to click Boomerang this every single time. Every time you want to do this, you have to change the date from 2 days to your optimal time frame. For me, it's normally a week. I think 2 days is too aggressive, so I hate having that number in Boomerang, and also having to click that every single time because it's a hiccup and it takes time that is quite annoying on a long enough time frame. So I built an extension with it with the help of Chris Lee, who's a really smart SEO developer. And essentially what this does, it will automatically enable Boomerang to follow up every single time, and also you can set it to your auto follow-up period as you want it. So if you want to follow up in 1 week and boomerang it automatically, you just enable it and will automatically do that. And you can also disable it for those times where you don't want this kind of intensive follow-up every time. So I found this valuable as a method of quickly following up for link building, lightweight link building when you're contacting about 100 to 200 people. Act 2, improve visibility. Let's say obviously the main equation is the more eyeballs you get on your content, the more links you get. So this part of it is going to be how can you get more eyeballs on your content, therefore improving the probability you get links. So first good tip I got from Justin Briggs, who's a smart SEO/content marketer, link builder, is if you see a popular section of any kind of blog or website, you can potentially send paid traffic at it, therefore improving your probability of showing up on their popular section, which could get you even more eyeballs on your content. So if you got a piece that was featured on Wired in some blog post, you could send paid traffic at it and get more mind share and hopefully views on it. Maybe who knows who could pick it up because it was in the popular section. And more so on a lower level, say you get a link from some small mommy blogger or something like that. They don't have a huge audience, but they have a popular widget in their sidebar. If you send paid traffic to that and push your post into the popular section, it's therefore become more authoritative because it's only 1 click from the homepage. So if you can essentially algorithmically enable your post to be 1 click from the homepage, you've improved the actual power of that post that you're featured in if it operates in that kind of page view format. It can sometimes be comments as well. It just depends. You have to get a feel for it and see exactly how they decide what the popular algorithm is. Facebook. So Facebook, say you get your content shared on Facebook on the same wavelength, you could ask your team members to go there, like the post, share the post, comment on the post, thereby increasing the edge rank, hopefully getting more eyeballs on it for their actual followers. Ideally, you're already following them, already liking them. So if this ever could get algorithmically picked up, which I don't see why they would ever work this in really, it'll be accounted for. So this is something that can add a little boost if you have a decent sized team to like stuff that you get shared on other people's Facebook accounts. Target newsletters. So we think about social media, Twitter, all those kinds of things, but I'd never really hear newsletters talked about. So like Moz Top 10 is incredibly powerful for sending traffic. So you can utilize, whether there's stuff like that in other verticals that you might not even be thinking about if that's not where your mind is all the time. So if you search on things like Twitter on the account of the business you're working for, and or just straight up asking influencers if there's any cool newsletters in the space, you might find new places to nurture and therefore get your content featured, which could result in more links on the back end. So let's say you find an article you found yourself. You normally would just tweet that out for whatever reason. I think there's also additional opportunity to nurture influencers through that process. So you found it yourself, you then drop it into Topsy, you see which influencers have shared it and give them credit even if you did not find it through them, giving you the ability to nurture them as an influencer, which you could hopefully then take advantage of later in the process. Secondly, you have a personal account. Maybe you influence someone personally, but your business is not hooked to them. You have the opportunity, I think that's the strongest person you have following. Instead of thinking about new influencers, get them on the second hook of your account. So if you, for example, Siege Media, I'd love if I could get all of the people, hopefully if I influence anyone, I could get them to follow Siege Media on Twitter as well, because there's the power that increases the probability that they'll actually see the content. Obviously, they already like it, so any kind of additional hook you can get, just smart to do. Say you write a great article, and if you're like me, you don't really think about the links in the post until after the post. But if you're a little more deliberate about it, you make a great article, hopefully that's gonna get shared inherently because it's good. You then go to Google, you search for articles that are relevant to the topic, maybe find an influencer who might share it. You find a way to work that article into the post in a way that's organic and actually adds value. You then do outreach to that person. It'll likely improve the probability of a social push from them, which is obviously a good thing if they are in your same market. And Act 3, just build links. A very important thing that we all like to do. First, if you write a guest post or you write any post, there's pretty easy opportunity to actually use your clients or websites that you actually want to rank higher as images in that post, because they're almost never, a lot of times they're not semantically related much at all. Like for example, this is a search-related website and it has a photo of a Super NES controller. If you're a gaming site, you could have easily worked in something like this in a way that's organic and gave them the image credit and then get value back to your own website. So if you're ever doing this kind of stuff for your clients or your own websites, it might be a nice organic way to add value. And hopefully the images are good and they're gonna enhance your posts and all those things, which should hopefully be sustainable and add value to you in the future. So I made this slide last week, and this morning I actually found an article from someone that I shared on Twitter that says two different Google engineers actually came out and said that you should no-follow your guest post author bios. And that was somewhat shocking to me. I don't totally agree with that as a process. You can find that online because it's pretty big news that came out today. So I would almost say completely ignore this slide. It's a decent tip, I think. But if you're really thinking about doing guest posting, I don't totally agree with the fact that they should be devaluing all those links. But the reality is the guest posts that you host on other sites are not real editorial votes for your website. They're editorial votes for that externally hosted content. So if you want credit on your own website, the kind of credit Google wants to reward, the links that actually give credit to the website, not to the externally hosted content, you should probably start ignoring guest posting unless it's a high value activity where you can actually drive traffic, visitors, retain people who you can then turn into other links. Because when Google's actually coming out and twice saying that you should no follow the author bio, that's a sign to me that that's something I'm really gonna put the stop break on in my process. Nurturing for blogs with link pages, a new process I've come about that I really like. Say you have a giant list of blogs that are prospects that you want to get links from. If you go into Screaming Frog, which is a really powerful tool, and then filter those blogs 4 pages that have links pages. So that means not a blog roll. That's a single page where they link to stuff they like, and it's also a blog. And you can use filters like these. Maybe you can even improve on them. The main idea is get that single page post, single page link page for blogs filtered out. Maybe you get 10 to 20 for your space. Maybe you get 5. And then you add it to a spreadsheet. And then after that, you go to those blogs. You add 3 value add comments over a 2-month period. Good comments, not spam comments. They have to be valuable. You have to actually read the article. You can't say, nice article, thumbs up. And you do it over 2 months, and you track in that spreadsheet. You make it somewhat scalable because you do all 10 to 20 at the same time. And then at the end of that 2-month period, you go to all of them, and you say, you do broken link building on that link list, and also mention the fact that you commented on their site, you're a reader of their site, and you end up getting mentions like this. This is a paraphrase quote I got on link list once using this process. They're also longtime readers of my blog, and I've read 3 posts from that site. So you can see the pure power of a process like this in terms of improving your conversion rate for blogs that have single link pages. Obviously you don't want to overuse anchor text. So I think, but you can still be smart and get partial matches, things like that. And if you do it organically, you can get better anchor text without putting your site at risk. So in your actual outreach emails, I implore you to actually push bloggers to use the correct anchor text when writing about you. Whether or not they do it or not, it's like in this example, you work in business card guide into the actual sentence leading into it. You don't want to be too aggressive, like business insurance quotes. That's obviously never going to work. But if you do a smart, short form kind of anchor text or whatever might make sense for that kind of guide, you might get a nice piece of anchor text. And similarly, even if you don't get anchor text, they could use co-citation around that link that might better inform value from Google in the eyes of Google. Screaming Frog, this is a tip for Screaming Frog, which again is a super powerful tool. It's crazy with Screaming Frog that because there's so many features of using it, you can sometimes lose the power of it. So there's actually an external outlinks function that is buried in the tool right. It's like 95 columns to the right, which you can totally lose, but it's really powerful in terms of sorting your prospect list. So if you create a giant list of link pages and then you sort by external outlinks, you have really high success rate prospects that you can hit really quickly because they're likely to link out. Because it's obvious the numbers say they link out, and you can get to, it's low-hanging fruit. You can hit them really quickly, and it's a nice way of filtering that list for opportunity. Of course, there's the back end where there's tons of links on the page, so it's probably not going to pass as much value, but I like any kind of link personally that is on a good editorial link list. Similarly, flip the funnel, hit 0. If you can filter the same link list, see who is not linked out at all, and suddenly you don't even have to look over these sites. Or you can at least give them a glance, see if there's something wrong. Sometimes it's 2 page levels deep, the actual external links, just how they link to it. Other times it'll just be their internal links that they're linking to or their resource page. And you can pull up link lists like this using Citation Labs, a really powerful tool for link prospecting, which can be nice and valuable. So Google consumer surveys. I love surveys for getting data. So hopefully you have an audience already that you can gather research data from. And that's not necessarily the case for everybody. So Google consumer surveys is a really powerful way of doing that for your business in a cheap and affordable way. You can get a statistically significant sample for $150 from them for 1 question. So you're probably not going to get a great piece of LINKBAIT from 1 question, but if you maybe fail 5 times and are smart about what kind of questions you ask, you might be able to pull out a nice piece of data that you can use for LINKBAIT. If you tie that in with this framework. So I love the SU.C.C.E.S framework. It's from Made to Stick, a really good book I think every marketer should read. And if you tie that consumer data with a cool, interesting stat that you can then turn into a piece of content, you have something that has a potential for virality. So that's success. It's being simplistic, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and tell stories. Sometimes you can't hit all of these, but if you can hit as many as you possibly can, it's a formula for success. I have done this checklist, and I think you should do this checklist on every piece of content you do. And if you fail, maybe go back to this and say, oh, maybe it didn't hit on most of these that I thought it was going to, and that's maybe the reason why it didn't have the success that I wanted to. Another tip from Justin Briggs, which I thought is really smart. So infographics are overused. Everyone hates them, but there's an opportunity to embed other stuff, like slideshows. I think this is a really smart strategy as an alternative for building links through embed. So So, Movoto, who does this, they have a really good blog. It's pretty inspiring, like the kind of content they put out and kind of links they build from it. You can match up an embeddable slideshow, which is easy for people to share, hit 10 big target markets. So if you do a city kind of data piece, you're Austin, Phoenix, whatever, you can reach out to those 10 huge markets with that piece of content. Hopefully some main target market, maybe it's like people who love RPG games the most, or 10 cities who love RPG games the most. You can hit up RPG blogs and 10 cities, and those, that might work and might not work. But if you match that up with embeddability with something that's going to target a huge market, it's going to be successful, and you're going to have you're going to get links in a new way that it's not really being used right now, and I think there's a huge opportunity to create useful content that's interesting that people want to share through this process that you'll also get links from. On the flip side, you can also target really small markets. So there's also a real need for small newspapers to fulfill content for their website. So if you have a small to medium-sized city, they don't get saturated with LINKBAIT and content marketing requests all day. The smaller cities just want something well-written that clearly comes from an authority, and they're going to link to it. So if you can find a smart way to work in small cities too, it's also a way to flip it. You're going to have less prospects, so there's a higher probability you might fail, but if you're really smart about building a great content piece and making sure they link out first, you can have a lot of success, I think. Find the roundup post. So you can quickly drop your keyword and do things like this and find new opportunities where people are sharing links like yours. If you have anything that's kind of good, they're going to link to it because they link out to stuff all the time. So why wouldn't they link out to your post? HARO. I love HARO, but I hate the noise. So if you have one website, I hate sifting through it all day. I get three emails a day. The ROI drops dramatically when you kind of have that noise. And also, you can improve the process dramatically by matching yourself up with the highest targeting keywords you have. So if you create filters within Gmail for the keywords that best target your market, you'll therefore create flags for that in your inbox so you don't have to waste time reading through those emails. And I think that's a nice productivity win overall. So create remarkable short form text. So what I mean by that, sometimes you might have some data lingering out there that you don't realize is being stolen by everyone that you can do link reclamation on. For example, Content Marketing Institute is a really well-known content marketing blog that you guys should be reading. And they have a what is content marketing post. And everyone steals the definition that's like 3 paragraphs down on their page to the tune of 125,000 people. And a lot of them are not linking back. So if you have any kind of data floating out there, other examples is like every second of page load time hurts your conversion rate by 7% or something like that. You could drop data like that in here if you get that kind of data, and then do link reclamation. Hey, you should have been citing me. Use things like Fresh Web Explorer to pick up on that information, quickly move back to it, and it's nice link wins you can do relatively easy if you have those kind of assets for your business. AHREFS, so we all lose links. There's an attrition rate on the web. But why just lose the links and just ignore it? So AHREFS allows you to sort by your lost links. You can go in there, see if there's some weird outliers as to why people took down your link. Maybe they just restructured their site. Maybe they have a new links page that they forgot to include you on. All those things open up opportunity with people you've already nurtured to a link to do so again. So don't just lose that link and then don't do anything about it. And similarly, you have a huge link prospect list, hopefully high-value sites. You've been working at a company for a year or two. Maybe you have their old link prospect list. You can drop that and Scream Your Frog, see which of those are foreign, and then use that for broken link building. Say, hey, my resource, which hopefully is comparable to that resource, should be linked to by you because we're in comparable spaces. It's a relevant resource, and what have you. So I think from all of this and all we've talked about, if you build links with your content, it's sustainable, you can win. We're going to be talking link building forever if that's the case. If you're taking it outside of your own hosted content, if you're doing guest posts that is externally hosted, you're at risk. You could potentially get penalized, and you'll be falling off this cliff soon enough. So that's it for me. If you guys have any questions, I would love to answer them.
Wow, so that's the first I've heard about Google saying today, no follow those author anchor text. Usually found at the bottom of the post.
Yeah, it wasn't an official announcement. Someone actually looked through the Webmaster videos that they released and found 2 separate quotes, both recommending you no follow the anchor text, or the author bio, sorry.
So would you speculate that we might see some harsh penalization in the future of sites that rely on these types of links?
I can't say that for sure. I would say I wouldn't go and like automatically no follow every single one of your guest posts. I would, however, shift away from that as a process, which just seems like a smart thing to do.
Yes.
So thank you, Blair Cunin from New Home Source. Follow-up question on that. Should you then just have them link to the Google Plus profile in guest blogs?
So I think the actual quote, I'm just rehearsing off memory, and I've read this for the first time today. It's every link in the post to you. So if you link to other external posts, your own site in the body, is that what you mean? And then you also link to your Google Plus in the author bio? Or not link at all?
You're saying don't link at all back to your site from the guest post?
I don't see them editorially discrediting that. It seems strange to me. That's still an editorial vote for your business if that webmaster approves that post. It's a little fainter of an editorial vote if they just approve your author bio. But I think that it's a lot harder to get a link editorially in the body. And I think that should pass value. Whether or not they actually pass value to it, if that's going to be a huge part of your business, is kind of something you got to work with.
Yes.
Hey, Ross.
Hey.
So clearly you're a productivity fan. And so I have 2 questions. My first question is, what's something that you think that link builders spend too much time on? And then my second question is, you sort of spent equal time on each of your tips here. So what are 1 or 2 of the tips that you shared that you feel like people should be doing that they're just not?
I'm not totally sure what people will probably waste their most time on. I think answering your second question in conjunction with the first, what everyone should be spending more time on is market research up front. So you should be verifying that your content has a home. I think a lot of time all the failed content out there doesn't really do the research up front that this person actually wants to link to me. There's a market of 20 to 100 people that are strong fits, maybe 20 are especially strong fits. Those kinds of things aren't really the research a lot of people are doing. Like if you see a home insurance information infographic, no one wants to link to that. If they had done any kind of market research, they'd know that up front.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Final question. You write a lot of emails, right?
Write a lot of emails?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, in the years that you've been doing this, have you found that webmasters are more resistant to some of your initial contact emails? And if so, how do you deal with that? Is it changing over time?
I haven't noticed a huge difference because the content I promote is escalated in quality because that's what's required these days. So if I'm doing outreach with the same crappy infographic that might have worked in 2008, I'm sure you get a lot of negative feedback. But thankfully, as I hope a lot of the people in this audience are doing, they're evolving with the needs and understand that webmasters are getting oversaturated with infographics, therefore they stop doing those and promote content that people actually want.
Ross, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.